On the evening of December 19, 2021, as the rest of Kenya bustled with the Christmas preparations, 61-year-old Erasmus Kinyua sat in his small electrical shop in Nyeri Town, unaware that his life was about to take a terrifying turn. His phone rang. He glanced at the screen before answering. Hello, Baba Kinyua. Unaweza tuonyesha ile shamba ulituambia unauza? The voice on the other end was familiar. They had spoken before about the land he was selling. It was already 8 p.m., late for business, but since they had discussed the deal earlier, there was no harm in meeting. What he didn't know was that this wasn't just another business call. It was a trap, a call not for land, but for death. Without suspecting a thing, Mr. Erasmus grabbed his car keys and set out in his white Toyota Probox to pick up the caller. He thought he was heading to Kangemi to finalize a land deal, but the man waiting for him was no client. Benson Musili, his supposed buyer, was not interested in land. He was a prison warden by day, but by night, he lived a far darker life. Had to kill, he had been contracted by none other than Erasmus's own wife. What made it worse, Musili wasn't just a hitman. He was also the man sharing Erasmus's wife's bed. Welcome to Shadows of Justice, where we bring you the most gripping crime stories from near and far. If you love real-life mysteries and dark truths, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss on our latest uploads. Erasmus Iguku was no ordinary businessman. He was a tycoon with multiple properties, vast land holdings, and two of the most popular electric shops in Nyeri Town, Mukaru and Rware Electricals. He had built an empire through hard work and determination. Born in 1960 in the chilly town of Mukurweni to a man named Kinyua, Erasmus had always been a bright mind. From his early school days, he pursued excellence with unwavering dedication, eventually earning a degree in electrical engineering from the prestigious Technical University of Kenya. He was a pioneer of his time, a man whose success was admired by many. But behind the wealth and prestige, shadows lurked, shadows he never saw coming. Erasmus's brilliance didn't go unnoticed, and after graduating in the late 80s, his exceptional skills earned him an immediate job at the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, in Nyeri. For years, he served the people of the Mount Kenya region with dedication, balancing his time between his office at Diana Center and the demanding fieldwork. It was during one of these site visits in the 90s, deep in the village of Kamakwa, that fate led him to Dorcas Wambui, a 24-year-old beauty who will soon become the love of his life. At the time, Erasmus was a wealthy, well-established senior bachelor with only one child from a past relationship. The 16-year age gap between them didn't matter. He swept Doris off her feet and their love blossomed into a strong, happy marriage. Together, they built a beautiful life raising 3 kids in a home filled with love and security. As a devoted father, Erasmus spared no expense, ensuring his kids went to the best schools in the county. Other parents admired him not just for his wealth, but for the way he was deeply involved in his children's education and life. To the outside world, he had it all: a thriving business, a loving family, and a respected name. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, one that will shatter everything he had built. Erasmus wasn't just admired at home. His colleagues at KPLC Diana Center held him in the same high regard. They saw him the true value of hard work and humility. As a mentor, he guided many young engineers, shaping their careers with patience and wisdom. But his kindness didn't stop there. He was a man of deep faith, dedicating his time and resources to his local church, St. James Kangemi. As the longest-serving chairman, he played a crucial role in securing funds for its construction and electrification, ensuring that the small church had the power, both literally and spiritually, to serve its growing congregation. Respected, successful, and generous, Erasmus seemed to have built a life many could only dream of. But what he didn't know was that betrayal was lurking closer than he could have ever imagined. He made sure the surrounding community had access to the best electrical services, leveraging both his position at KPLC and his 2 well-known electronic shops in Nyeri. His customers trusted him, and not just because he sold quality products, no, because he traded with honesty and integrity. Perhaps what set him apart the most was his commitment to the younger generation. Erasmus had a soft spot for young electrical students from Nyeri Polytechnic, often hiring them in his shops, mentoring them, and even supporting them financially and spiritually. To many of his employees, he wasn't just a boss, he was a second father. Erasmus and his wife poured their hearts into building a thriving business, and their dedication paid off. With success came immense wealth, more than he had ever imagined. Now, a man of means, Erasmus invested heavily. He bought vast tracts of land and erected towering buildings in Kangemi, solidifying his status as a real estate mogul. With his financial empire secure, he made a bold decision: early retirement. In 2018, after more than 25 years of service, he bid farewell to KPLC. He was no longer an employee. He was the boss. Free from office duties, he devoted himself to managing his properties and giving back to the less fortunate. The struggling families of Majengo slums who lived near his downtown shops knew him not just as a businessman, but as a man of great generosity. Every Christmas, he personally organized care packages for widows and early grandmothers from the slum, ensuring they, too, felt the warmth of the holiday season. Erasmus's generosity made him a beloved figure in the community. Almost everyone admired and respected him, but there was one person who didn't: his own wife, Dorcas Wambui. To her, all his kindness was nothing but a waste. She saw him as a foolish old man squandering his hard-earned wealth on people who didn't deserve it. And worse, he was dull. A church-going, tea-drinking man who, in her eyes, had long lost the fire she craved. Their differences ran deep. While Erasmus found joy in faith and family, Doris preferred the thrill of social drinking and night outings. Their marriage was constantly on the rocks, tension brewing like unspoken storms. And then, temptation struck. During one of her night outs, Doris met Benson Musili, a prison guard at Kingongo Maximum Prison. Younger by 8 years, full of life, and the complete opposite of her husband, he was exactly what she had been looking for. What started as a fling quickly became something more, a secret passion, a dangerous love, and soon a deadly plan. To Doris and Ben, age was nothing but a number. Their affair burned hot, fueled by secret rendezvous and wild nights at their favorite joints. They lived in their own world, unbothered, until the day Erasmus made a decision that changed everything. He decided to sell a piece of land, but this time he wasn't handing any of the money to Doris. Furious, she ran straight to Ben, seething with anger. Mzee amenizoea. This time he has to go. She didn't know how, she didn't care how. All she knew was that she had 400,000 Kenya shillings, enough to make the problem disappear. And there was only one person she trusted to handle the job: Ben. Ben had seen it all in his years working at Kingongo Maximum Prison. He had dealt with hardened criminals, killers with no conscience. Taking a man's life, that was nothing new to him. So, without hesitation, he agreed. The plan was set, the money was ready, and unknown to Erasmus, his fate had just been sealed. Ben played his role perfectly. Since Erasmus had never met him, he could easily pose an uninterested buyer. Now, all he needed were the right men for the job. After days of careful planning, the trap was set. On the evening of December 19, 2021, using an untraceable burner phone, Ben called Erasmus, pretending to be a land buyer. Without a second thought, Erasmus agreed to meet. That night, he picked up Ben and his associates in town and drove them to the land's location. But the moment they arrived, the deal turned deadly. Before he could react, a heavy blunt object came crashing down on his head, blow after blow. His attackers struck with brutal force, leaving him for dead on the very land he had worked so hard to acquire. Oddly enough, the killers took nothing from him. Not his wallet, not his car, not even his home. The small detail was the first red flag. It wasn't a robbery. It was something far more sinister. When detectives arrived at the scene, they immediately smelled foul play. And the first person they wanted to question, his wife, Dorcas Wambui. But there was just one problem. She had disappeared. Days later, after an intense search, authorities tracked her down in Machakos. She wasn't alone. She was with Beth, and the two were attempting to flee. What began as a love story ended in bloodshed. Erasmus Iguku, a man who had built his life on hard work, generosity, and faith, was betrayed by the very person he trusted the most, his own wife. Blinded by greed and lust, Dorcas Wambui, along with her lover Ben Musili, plotted his gruesome murder, believing they could get away with it. But justice had other plans. Their reckless attempt to flee only sealed their fate. As the truth unraveled, The weight of their crime caught up with them. The very money Doris once fought for was now useless, and the lover she once ran to could no longer protect her. The walls closed in, and they were forced to face the consequences of their actions. In the end, Erasmus's legacy remained untarnished. His name remembered not for how he died, but for how he lived. But for Doris and Ben, their lust-fueled greed became their downfall, proof that no secret stays buried forever. Justice may be slow, but it never forgets.